Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of What If ANBU Naruto Went Back in Time. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe for more and also check out the description. So let's get started. Chapter 16. Sakura and Haku opened the scrolls after a few minutes of pondering over the puzzle on the inside of the building in the center of the Forest of Death. The scrolls began smoking, and in a puff of smoke Urka was there to meet them. Well done on making it here, he said with a cheer that only he could produce. I'm glad to see you, Urka said, then braced himself for the onslaught that he thought would follow. He stood there awkwardly for a minute, waiting for the smoke to clear. When he wasn't tackled down by 100 pounds of happy Naruto when the smoke cleared, he became worried. Urka looked over the group. Sakura was dropping out of a fighting stance while Haku stood confused. Then he saw behind them. Sasuke and Naruto were unconscious and badly hurt. What happened? He asked, voice cracking when he saw how badly they were all hurt. Long story, Sakura said, picking up Sasuke bridal style. Haku bent down to pick up Naruto. They require medical attention, he said simply. Urka nodded and lead them in. Immediately there were medical nin with stretchers there to take them to the hospital in the tower. Kakashi came over and placed a hand on Sakura and Haku. I want you to tell me what happened, he said in a calm tone. The two nodded and began to follow Kakashi to a nearby table. Sakura and Haku took turns telling Kakashi what had happened from the moment they entered to when they arrived in as much detail as they could. Kakashi remained unreadable through it all, but his mind was racing. That sounds like Orochimaru, alright, but why would he do that to Sasuke? He's up to something, and I need to find out what. On top of that, Sakura saw the seal on Naruto's stomach. Good, she thinks Orochimaru did that too. Mental note check, Kyuubi's seal later, Kakashi thought as Sakura had ended her story. Well, it sounds like you four had fun, he said cheerily, earning some ringing in his ears. Then the two in front of him shouted. What? Yes, well, he continued, sticking his pinky in his ear. I'll go and check up on them once they're out of intensive care. I wouldn't worry too much though. They're strong, they'll make it through. Haku nodded half-heartedly while Sakura still didn't look convinced. And the thing Naruto did. What was it? The red chakra? Sakura asked, her voice shaking a little. I don't know. I'll check into that, Kakashi said in a slightly nervous voice that went unnoticed. In the meantime, go take a shower, you both reek. You have 18 hours left of this part of the exam. Get some sleep, eat some jello. I would suggest the bar if you were older, but Kakashi was stopped short when a medical nin came running up from behind him, tapped him on the shoulder, and whispered something in his ear. Kakashi nodded and stood. Well, I have to go and just think non-worrisome thoughts about your teammates while I go get a cat down from a tree. See ya. And with a wave he took off behind the medical nin. Where am I? Naruto asked as he seemed to wake up, his voice sounding lower to his ears. One glance around told him he was not where he was supposed to be. There was white in front of him and black behind him, but there was nothing more. Just an endless abyss of black and white. He was standing in the middle of the two clashing colors, which seemed to intertwine. Although the white and black swirled about each other, they never seemed to mix. Hello. Naruto tried again, but only got an echo. Naruto tried to take a step forward, but didn't get anywhere as he was still on the line of swirling colors. His footsteps echoed, but still nothing. I suppose I should explain, came a voice. Naruto turned to look and saw Kyuubi coming into view from his left. It looked almost as if the swirling colors were a fog he was coming out of. Kyuubi stood about as tall as a horse. Where is this place? Wait. I think I know. I died, didn't I? Naruto said solemnly. And I'm going to be judged and either pulled into the black or the white depending on what I did in life, right? Naruto asked, turning to Kyuubi in monotone. Naruto reached up and hugged Kyuubi around the neck. You've been good to me, and I'll miss you. If you can enter the world of the living after I'm gone, tell everyone I'll miss them too. Quit being so melodramatic and let go. Kyuubi tried to be angry, but found it hard to hide the amusement in his voice. Naruto let go and stared at Kyubi in confusion. You're not dead, at least not completely. Kyubi said you're on the borderline between the underworlds, heaven and hell so to speak. Since you were so badly injured I brought you here. Don't interrupt me. Naruto closed his mouth and let the fox finish. Normally a human soul would float around in the borderline and never even see it. When someone is here it means there is a chance they may come back, it also means there is a chance they may never return. If the physical body is well looked after, the door becomes larger. Kyubi motioned to a small blue light to the right and left of Naruto slowly growing as the edges swirled with the white and black. If the physical body is not looked after, the door will close and the spiritual body will wake up at either the gates of heaven or the gates of hell. Kyubi motioned to the white and black. So I'm nothing but chakra right now, right? Kyubi nodded. So if you hadn't interfered I would just be floating around, waiting to be sucked up in some light. The Kyubi nodded again. But I thought that Orochimaru put that seal over the... Yes, he did, Kyubi interrupted, not wanting to hear a recap. But it is only affecting your healing. I didn't need chakra to wake you up here. I merely had to touch you. Any jarring to the chakra form from on the borderline will make the person conscious of what's happening. Naruto raised an eyebrow but nodded. You don't need to worry. You will return, but first there is a reason I woke you up in here. Kyubi wrapped Naruto with one of his tails and turned him to face the white side. A slight wind blew by ruffling Naruto's hair. He felt warmth emanating from it. He suddenly felt at ease and relaxed. Kyubi's tail held Naruto to his spot as the wind picked up. A small light was emanating from the center of the white abyss. It grew steadily until the warm yellow glow became so intense Naruto had to close his eyes. Naruto thought he heard soft music that came and died very quickly as the light began to fade. Naruto tried to open his eyes, but ended up squinting as two shadowed figures stood before him. As the light died and his eyes began to adjust. It had been 6 hours since Naruto had been in the hospital ward in the tower, and the medical nins had finished his surgery. They were skeptical on whether or not he would be able to use his right arm ever again, but he would live. Numerous stitches were required to close his wounds. Due to the seal over the Kyubi seal, he was healing about the same as a normal person would. His breaths were unsteady and blood still oozed out of a cut above his eyebrow, but the medical nins were allowing people to see him. Due to Naruto still being unconscious, however, the medical nins were only allowing a few people at a time to see him. Haku was the first with Hinata, who arrived only an hour earlier. Haku watched him and thanked him while Hinata tried not to faint at the sight of him. Sakura was next with Kakashi. I saw the seal right around his belly button, but it vanished. Will you be able to remove it? Sakura asked. I don't know. I'll need to see the seal to tell, but from the sounds of things it's the type that can only be seen when he's generating chakra. I'll have to wait until he's awake to remove it. Kakashi said as he peeled down the sheet that covered him. Parts of his chest were heavily bandaged, while other parts the stitches were in sight. Naruto still had on his tattered pants, but they had been cut to more of a boxer or shorts length so the medical nins could get at the wounds on his legs. Kakashi's eyes widened at what he saw on the boy's chest. Sakura noticed and asked, "What's the matter?" Kakashi took his hand away from the one scar that stood out the most and began tracing over the fresher ones. I just never realized how cut up he got. Kakashi said, "This scar. No, it can't be. But it has to." Naruto smiled softly. I wonder what he's dreaming about. Haku said as he came in and stood beside Kakashi. A tear welled up and rolled down the side of Naruto's face, making everyone stare in wonder. Sakura poked him softly in his unbeaten shoulder. You awake yet? She kept poking until she was satisfied and positive he was still unconscious. Must be a good dream, Kakashi said as he began to turn them away. Notify me as soon as he wakes up, Kakashi said to the guard of Naruto's room as they left. The guard nodded curtly and went back into position. Let's check on Sasuke, shall we? After all I hear he woke up, Kakashi said. Sakura's face lit up and she raced over to where Sasuke was being held. The cursed seal must have finally disappeared, but still. Kakashi thought idly. Earlier, as Kakashi raced away from Haku and Sakura behind the medic nin, he couldn't help but let the fear rise in his chest. As he reached the room where Sasuke was being held, he was surprised to see Anko, her hand over her neck, waiting for him. He went inside and was surprised to see that Anko's curse mark spinning rapidly, emitting a purple glow. I know what happened. It just started reacting recently though. I'm trying my best to keep it under control, but I can't hold out for much longer. Anko turned her head slightly and motioned to Sasuke. He seems to be having the same problem. The curse marks were absorbing chakra from somewhere and giving it to the hosts. Orochimaru is dead. Anko said simply. We found charred remains in the forest, and the remains of his chakra signature were still there. It took a while to analyze, but they're definitely his. Anko finished. Can you remove it? She asked, tilting her head away from the spinning mark. Kakashi nodded. Take off your shirt, he said as he reached into his pouch to get his ink and a brush. What? Smack. Kakashi went flying. This is hardly the time or place. And besides, you could at least take me out for dinner first. Anko screamed, hitting Kakashi again. What are you talking about? I need to paint on the inscription to remove the mark. I don't know how to do it any other way. Anko snorted, and instead cut off a sleeve. I guess that will do, Kakashi's sweat dropped. Well, I'm not going to let my wanting of this mark removed be used to get me to undress so you can fulfill some perverted urge. Anko snorted as she sat down her back to the silver-haired jounin. Oh well, it was worth a try. Kakashi sighed. Smack. Ow. What the hell was that for? Kakashi whimpered, rubbing his head. I know you were thinking perverted thoughts. Just for that I will picture her naked. Smack woo. Come on. Present. Sasuke. Sakura launched herself at Sasuke just as he was trying to take a drink of water. The water ended up coming out and being sprayed on the floor. Sakura gave Sasuke a hug and squeezed him to the point he couldn't breathe. I'm alive all right. Be happy over there. I rather like my air, thank you. He gasped out. Sakura squeezed harder while Sasuke's hand floated over to a glass soda bottle that was on the nightstand to his left. Kakashi grabbed it out of his hand as Sasuke was about to whack Sakura with it. When she finally let go, a medical nin came in with a syringe filled with a clear substance. Kakashi tilted Sasuke's head and examined where the curse mark once was. How do you feel? Kakashi asked. Sasuke turned to him with dull eyes. Like a large house was turned into chakra and forced into my skull. Sasuke's eye twitched. Well, I think that's normal. At least with searing pain you know you're alive. Kakashi scratched the back of his head. He's going to have trouble controlling all that new chakra he absorbed from the curse mark. But hopefully it won't be too bad. Well, this should help. The medical nin came closer with the needle. At least the hickey's gone. Haku piped up, trying to be helpful. Sasuke stared at the needle skeptically. You know, I feel better. Really? He said in a monotone, putting a hand up limply only to wince in pain and put it back down. Yay. Just look over there and stare at the polka dots. The nin said, grabbing his left arm. Big tough ninja are always scared of a little needle. Why? I don't see any reason how that's going to help. I can clearly see there's only 10, they're all different colors, but other than that they're very pretty actually. I don't think they're supposed to dance though. Oh well. Sasuke's expression changed from one of anger to one of happiness. He had a lopsided smile, and one eye half closed as he stared at the dots on the wall. Isn't red a nice color? Sasuke asked as he fell back into his pillow. The medical nin frowned. I think I gave him too much morphine. I'm sure he'll be back to normal soon. The nin backed out of the room slowly. Sasuke's teammates glared accusingly at the medical nin as she tried to leave unnoticed. What? I'm only a temp. And with that she ran out of the room. Heh. She seemed nice. A little crazy, but nice. Dance little spots. Dance. Sasuke said, still watching the polka dots. Wow. It's like they sucked the all angst right out of him. Haku said. I think we should leave and lock the door behind us. Kakashi said as he opened up the door. Sasuke relaxed into the pillow and waved his arms as if conducting an orchestra. Tell me if there are any changes. Kakashi said to Sasuke's guard as he left. Chapter 17. Sakura, Kakashi, and Haku all exited Sasuke's hospital room and headed towards their sleeping areas. Sakura yawned, only now realizing how tired she was after all the stress was off, and she wasn't as worried about her teammates. Haku headed towards a makeshift cafeteria to get something to eat. Kakashi watched them go their separate ways. He took a deep breath and sighed as he looked back to his two students' hospital rooms. What have I gotten them into? He thought as he turned to leave and report. A swirl of smoke and leaves later, and he was gone. Naruto tried to open his eyes, but ended up squinting as two shadowed figures stood before him. As the light died and his eyes began to adjust, he got his first clear view of the two people in front of him. At first he didn't understand who they were. As the light died further, Kiba unwrapped his tail and Naruto smiled as a tear ran down his face. He ran to the pair of people in front of him and wrapped his arms around them. The two people wrapped their arms around him as well as Naruto clung to the necks of the two in front of him. He took in every detail of their features. One was a man about a little taller than him, the other was a woman about his height, but shorter than the man on his left. Naruto drew back from the pair and opened his mouth to speak, but couldn't find the right words. The only sound he found he could get out was a small gasping sound every time he tried to talk. The woman giggled and kissed his forehead, breaking the silence. A soft and warming smile graced her lips, her eyes portraying true happiness and pride. The man smirked as Naruto looked towards him. Touching reunion? No. Kiba asked, being the first to speak since the light show started. Long time no see, furball, the man said, tilting his head and smirking in a somewhat playful manner. As to you, Minato. Namikaze, the fox nodded in acknowledgement to the woman Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto wiped a stray tear from his eye as he once again looked to the pair before him. I'm your. Naruto tried to get out but couldn't. You're my. Minato's smirk widened to a broad smile. What's with the fractured sentences? I thought you could speak better than that. He does really look more like you than me though. Kushina said. Yay, but I was taller at his age. His chakra has taken on his 24-year-old form instead of his 13-year-old physical form. Kiba said, more to himself than anything. Yondaime. I'm just. Naruto started. Minato shook his head and laughed. No need to be so formal. Try a sir, or better yet. Minato looked to Naruto, smile still in place. Maybe father or dad. Naruto nodded, finally clearing his head. Dad. And mom. He tried the words, a strange feeling on his tongue. I'm sorry, it's just this is kind of the first time we've met, so I'm a little, It's alright, I know this must be hard for you. So many emotions at once, I mean. Kushina said softly, resting a hand on Naruto's shoulder. I thought you'd like this little present. The fox smiled knowingly, although now you might need to thank Orochimaru. Naruto looked to the fox with a raised eyebrow. I've been trying to do this for you for a while, but if you recall, I've said earlier this is a place that can only be reached when the physical body is at risk of dying. Kiba showed his teeth in an attempted grin. Okay. So because he beat me into a pulp I was able to see my parents, is what you're saying? Naruto shook his head in wonder at the irony. See? I knew you had a sense of humor. Minato said with a laugh. I'm glad I could have met you before you died. Kushina said with a smile. See? Now that the awkward meeting is over, it's easier to talk to your old man. That, and the fact that the fox broke the silence. Kushina said. All of them laughed, enjoying the moment. No matter how hard Naruto tried, he couldn't hold back the odd stray tear that fell from his eyes. I really wish you could come back with me when I wake up. And I've got so many questions. Naruto said, feeling like he really was 13. Like about my relatives, and what happened to them and minus. Whoa. Easy. I really don't know if you have that many relatives still around. It's not like we mass produce or something. Minato said jokingly. I honestly never had a tight relationship with my parents. Minato said. Kushina nodded in silent agreement before adding her own 2 cents. I did, but you won't find my parents in the physical world, she said, placing a hand on her son's shoulder. By the way, my last name, it was your last name, right? Naruto asked, pointing to his mother who nodded. So how come you didn't give me your last name? Naruto asked, turning to his father. Minato's eyes softened. When the Kyuubi was sealed inside you, I had hoped everyone would think of you as a hero, but as you know all too well that was not the case. I had planned for this previously and because everyone thought of you as well, the Kyuubi himself. Having my last name would have only made things worse. Naruto nodded. They would have scorned me for more than fuzz butt over there. I could almost imagine the angry villagers just plain pissed that I was a monster and had the great Yondime's last name. Ah well. Naruto chuckled as he received a nuji from his father. Honestly, you two could pass for brothers more so than father and son, Kushina said as she poked at her husband. So how about, I teach you something? Minato asked with a devious smirk in place. Naruto's eyes lit up really. Naruto then flung himself at the older blonde, making the two topple over. They landed with an oof. Minato stood up with Naruto still hanging around his neck, causing Kushina and Kyuubi to chuckle. Always knew he was clingy, Kyuubi said, smirking. If only you were a little smaller, I could wear you as a necklace. Minato laughed out, causing everyone to laugh again. Naruto let go and scratched the back of his head as he apologized. Minato smirked and ruffled his son's hair. Sue, what are you going to teach me? Naruto asked, excitement getting the better of him. Something that I regretfully didn't write down before I died. Minato started, leaning to Naruto's ear as if to tell him a secret. How'd you like to be Konoha's next? Minato started extremely slowly. Kushina sighed and smacked her husband behind his head. The glare she sent him was saying to stop teasing the poor boy and get on with it or else. I always thought she was the overprotective type, Kyuubi thought to himself as he watched Minato rub the bump on his head. Ow. Shesh, okay. How'd you like to be Konoha's next yellow flash? Minato finally said. And I can help you with genjutsu. I know that's your weak point, Kushina added. Naruto's grin seemed to overgrow his face, causing him to pump his fists in excitement. Wow. You mean it? Just remember, Kit, if you use up all your chakra here, you're done. So only use enough to understand how to do the technique. If you use up all your chakra here, you will disappear, considering your current predicament, not to mention the seal Orochimaru put on your physical body, Kyuubi warned. For the next few hours Naruto trained with his parents as they taught him a few things that he can take back with him to the physical realm. Minato taught Naruto a few simple sealing techniques and how to become the yellow flash, while Kushina taught him the finer points of genjutsu and ways to combine simple ones with other jutsu to keep the opponent occupied. Naruto listened intently, as did Kyuubi, who knew full well that Naruto would not be able to remember all of the lectures he was receiving. Once Naruto had a small grasp on what his parents were teaching him, they began to exchange stories. They talked until the fox's voice rung in their ears. Hate to say it, but you need to wrap it up, kid. Look. Kyuubi pointed with his head over to the blue light which had grown to consume a large portion of the side walls of swirling colors. You're 24 now, right? Minato asked suddenly. Well, yes, but. Minato held up a hand and Naruto stopped talking. You know, by the time I reached your age, I developed a number of new jutsu and techniques. Minato smirked. Perhaps you should try. Naruto nodded. I will. Do you have any tips? Oh sure. But the biggest one would have to be go for it. Especially since you got a hidden helper, you can probably do almost anything you put your mind to. Minato gave Naruto a slight punch in the arm and motioned to Kyuubi, who snorted at the term hidden helper. And remember, no matter what, we're proud of you. No matter what happens, you'll always have people accepting you with open arms. Kushina said, wrapping her son in a large hug and kissing his forehead again. I'll be even more proud of you when you become my successor. Remember, you'll always be my son." Minato smiled and gave Naruto a hug. Naruto began seeing blue. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice sounding far off. "You're being called back," Kyubi said simply. "One more thing. I know you've been trying to help Kyubi break his bonds. Just so you know, you're going about it all wrong. It's easier than you think. Instead of using your chakra to unravel the seal, try something simpler," Minato suggested, earning a giggle from Kushina, though it sounded as if their voices were at the end of an echoic tunnel. "Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad," Naruto called, not sure where he was anymore. He felt the warmth of his parents hugging him again, but it was slowly fading. He heard them call a goodbye to him as the blinding blue light grew even brighter. A faint echo of his parents' voices rang in his ears that sounded like "We love you." Kakashi was disturbed from his nap by an excited medical nin. "Look! Naruto's waking up." After reporting to the Hokage about what had happened and the information he received about Orochimaru, Kakashi had gone back to the hall where Naruto and Sasuke's hospital rooms were and had fallen asleep. He couldn't help but feel as if everything that happened to his students was his fault. But more than anything, he wanted to talk to Naruto ever since he saw a particular scar on Naruto's chest. It had been quite a while since he was first brought to the room, and it was now morning. 7 o'clock, to be somewhat exact. The first half of the Shoyunin exams would be over at 3. Kakashi entered the room to see Sakura and Haku already there, as well as Sasuke, who had been moved into Naruto's room once he came out of a morphine-induced hysteria. He's finally stable, and his brain activity has been steadily increasing, so he should be awake any moment, the medical nin said. Sasuke looked bored, but still kept his eyes on Naruto. Sakura and Haku had brought them both flowers, which they had found in a window box on a balcony. Naruto's deep steady breaths became more controlled, signaling he would soon be awake. His right arm had a cast on it, and was laying in a sling, giving it a slight elevation. A final tear came out of his eye. "He's been doing that a lot," Haku commented when he saw it. Suddenly Naruto gasped and opened his eyes. He looked from side to side, eyes wild. He sat up and looked around, quickly regretting it, and laid back down. "Well, he's energetic still," Sasuke said. Naruto turned his head to look at him. "Sorry," he panted. He felt his pillow was wet, and with his left arm wiped a tear from his eye. He looked at the drop on his finger and smiled. "So what were you dreaming about?" Sakura asked when Naruto wiped his tear on his sheet. Naruto just laughed, and said, "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." He tried to move and noticed his arm was in a cast. Naruto blinked and knocked on the plaster. "You know, I think this is the first time I've needed a cast." "What do you mean? You've never broken a bone before?" Haku asked. "Well, of course I have, but most of the time." Never mind." Naruto forced a laugh. Sasuke caught the blonde's abrupt change in sentence and eyed him suspiciously. "Well, now, Sasuke, do you think you can walk?" the medical nin asked. Sasuke got up and took a tentative step out of the bed. He grunted. Once he had both feet on the ground, he walked over to a chair in the corner of the room. "Well then, you seem to still have some pain, but otherwise good to go. Your clothes are here." The nin handed him his things. Sasuke nodded and sat in the chair. "And please think carefully about whether or not to continue the exams. Don't overdo it." Sasuke limped into the side room to get changed. Once he came back, he plopped down into the chair again. Just as he slumped down, the door opened again, and another nurse came in. Sasuke instantly paled at the sight of her. "I heard you still have some pain, and She never got to finish. Sasuke ran from the morphine-wielding temp faster than anyone thought possible. The temp turned and ran after him, calling to him to stop. "Do I want to know what happened while I was unconscious?" Naruto stared at the door while everyone around him just sweat dropped. "Tell you later." Actually, I'll show you later. I got the surveillance tape from Sasuke's room. Wouldn't you know, he was in the only room with a working surveillance camera." Kakashi smirked behind his mask, eye turning into an upside-down U. Everyone just stared at the Jounin. I don't even want to know how you managed to get the security tape. Sakura said, shaking her head. Well, all unwanted information aside. Could you all perhaps leave me and Naruto alone for a moment? I would like to talk to him privately. Kakashi said as Sakura had started to ask Naruto about the red chakra. She stopped as she noticed the serious tone in Kakashi's voice. Slowly everyone left, leaving the two alone. Kakashi. Do you want to know what happened to that snake freak? It? Well, I can tell you one thing, I kicked his butt. Naruto said, forcing a big smile that closed his eyes. Save it. Kakashi said slightly snippier than he intended, causing Naruto to blink and sit up. Kakashi pulled the bedsheet back so only Naruto's feet were covered. He pointed at a large scar that was half covered by bandages. Tell me about that, will you? Kakashi said, his eye locking into Naruto's. Naruto looked back and gulped as he followed where his sensei was pointing. On the left side of his chest, right where his heart should be, was a scar. Kakashi peeled back the bandages a bit to get a better look at the whole thing. The scar was faded like it had been there for quite a while, and most of the lines were too pale to see unless you were looking for them. The scar looked as if it was burned and ripped all at once at the same time. It was also almost perfectly round, and although it was perfectly healed, it still hurt. Once he fully realized what was implied, he swallowed hard and visibly paled. There is only one way to make a scar like that, and it looks too old to be made by Orochimaru. Even with the fox. Not to mention the fact that as far as I know, I'm the only one able to do this jutsu. Naruto. Would you mind explaining to me? Kakashi paused for a moment, trying to control his emotions. How did you end up with a scar from a kudari? Chapter 18. There is only one way to make a scar like that, and it looks too old to be made by Orochimaru. Naruto. Would you mind explaining to me how you ended up with a scar from a kudari? Kakashi's visible eye locked into Naruto's, not letting anything pass by him. Damn it. I can't exactly lie this time, but how am I going to tell him without getting attacked for being an imposter or something? Naruto thought, slightly biting his lip. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? Right, play dumb. He won't suspect anything then. The fox rolled his eyes. Unless something happens in the next few seconds, you might have to come clean, kid. Kiba said. Kakashi began reaching into his kunai pouch slowly, hoping the blonde wouldn't notice. I've had my suspicions about you. I've seen you do things that no genin should be able to do. Granted, the fox could be teaching you some moves, however that still doesn't answer all the questions. Not to mention that ever since you graduated, you have been acting differently than from what I've seen myself, and what I've heard from Urika. So tell me, what is it you're hiding? Kakashi's eye narrowed as Naruto sighed. And I thought I was doing so well. Naruto adjusted himself on the bed, taking his arm out of the sling and hanging his feet over the end. Oh well. Better late than be-work. As soon as Naruto tried to stand up, Kakashi pushed him back down using the blunt end of the kunai at his throat. Sheesh. Coughing and rubbing his throat, he sat up once again. I was going to tell you eventually. Though you probably won't believe me. But honestly, come on. Kakashi's eye narrowed further. Wow, last time you looked at me like that was when you found out that I burnt a limited edition of Ika Ika. Naruto chuckled dryly, trying to get the older man to lighten up. Kakashi put his kunai away but still glared at the young-bodied blonde. I don't recall that ever occurring, he said, watching Naruto attempt to stand again. Well, it hasn't. Yet. And hopefully it won't, because you personally guarded and took away all the accessible ramen from me. Kakashi raised a brow, but remained tense and wary. Naruto then smirked, noticing he was confusing the man. You know, when I was your age I'm 26, Naruto. Well, I'm 24, so Naruto stuck his tongue out and blew a raspberry. This caused Kakashi to do a face fault. And how is it that you are supposedly 2 years younger than me? He asked, picking himself off the floor. Well, outwardly, I'm 13, but I'm really 24, believe me. Actually, I was 23, But I had a birthday. 11 years. Naruto put his fingers down once he had counted. I got sent back 11 years. What do you mean sent back? Kakashi asked, now somewhat starting to relax. Well, see, we were fighting Orochimaru, and just as he was about to die he did this weird jutsu. It sucked me in it, and was supposed to basically destroy me, but Kiba altered it so it sent me back 11 years into the past. Naruto nodded and took a breath. You were there and copied the move with your Sharingan, and apparently with the help of half the village's shinobi, you were able to do another one of those jutsu with the alteration, and Tsunade went in hoping to find me. She was hoping it was transdimensional or something. Like I just got sent away. Kakashi just stared at his blonde student. You're right, I don't believe you. He shook his head to clear it. But it's not like I have much choice now. Well, it would explain a few things. Like how you knew my name when we first met, and I hadn't told you yet. But still that story is just confusing. Hard to believe. Don't get me started. I'm the one who has to deal with this. I was going to be a father before this happened. I had twins. You know how annoying it is to have to wait another 11 years before I can see them. Naruto flailed his good arm in the air, causing him to fall off the bed and onto the floor. If you don't believe me, fine, but talk to Tsunade. She is almost in the same boat as me. Naruto said, struggling to stand. Kakashi nodded, but gave Naruto a slap on the back, causing the blonde to fall down again. Well, good to know you're not an imposter then. And Naruto, who is will be the lucky lady? Kakashi's eye turned into a U once more, and Naruto swore the Jounin had an evil smirk in place. Naruto stared at his teacher. That went better than I thought. Naruto commented, sitting back on the bed. But can you try not to tell anyone? 'Cause I'd like to keep people from asking awkward questions. Although it feels good to tell someone. Naruto said, sighing. Kakashi nodded. I will have to bring this to the Hokage though. Naruto nodded and sighed again. You still didn't answer my first question. The scar from the Kudari? Well, see, for the second half of the exams, oh, and by the way, we're going to be invaded during the second half. At least I don't have to come up with some weird excuse on how I know this now, anyway. You taught Sasuke the Kudari. Naruto's eyes saddened, and Kakashi didn't like where this was going. After the exams were over, a few months or so later, Sasuke begun to be manipulated through the curse mark, and Orochimaru tried to take him away. Sasuke didn't exactly fight it too much with his wanting for power and all. When I met up with him we fought, and well. Naruto made a fist with his left hand and lightly punched on his scar. Needless to say, Kiba had fun trying to heal it. I think the only reason it followed me back was because it went so deep, deeper than flesh. And the fox was saying how my muscles had a memory which helped me keep my strength. 1. Kakashi smiled slightly, now understanding why Naruto ended up killing Orochimaru rather than injuring him. No doubt the Kyuubi helped Naruto beat him though. Alright. Thank you. I'll warn the Hokage as well about the invasion. And Naruto. Considering how he was talking about Sasuke, no doubt that they eventually became great friends. Poor kid. Yeah. Naruto asked, looking to the Jounin with sadness evident in his eyes as he recalled the event. Do you think it might be different with Sasuke since the seal was removed and Orochimaru is dead? Kakashi asked, his voice saddened and his face crestfallen. Naruto, I'm sorry. I hope so, I really do. Naruto answered, looking to the side. Oh, one more thing. You're sorta good with seals, right? Naruto asked, changing the mood and pulling at some bandages that covered his stomach. Kakashi nodded. Yes. He watched as Naruto took off a few bandages, peeling them back. Do you know how to get rid of this one? Naruto asked, channeling chakra and allowing the seal over his belly button to appear along with Orochimaru's seal. Kakashi blinked at it before rubbing his chin and nodding. I've read about that. The 5-pronged seal. It is supposed to stop the flow of chakra, rendering the opponent helpless and unable to do jutsu. In your case it probably just stopped the Kyuubi's chakra source. Kakashi opened a scroll from his pouch, and read a moment, mumbling to himself. Alright, I'll try to do it. I'm not making any guarantees. I've never done one of these before. Naruto nodded as he stood up and put his back facing the wall, knowing all too well that if Kakashi did it right, he would go flying. Just tell me when you're ready and I'll generate some chakra, Naruto said, putting his hand into a seal, his right arm hanging at his side, unable to move his fingers. Kakashi reeled back and began generating his own chakra. His fingers began to glow as each one lit up with a separate symbol. Release! He cried as he jabbed his hand into Naruto's stomach. The blonde went back, but the wall caught him. Luckily, it didn't crack. Naruto stood up, rubbing his head only to have it be pulled forward by Kakashi. Ow! 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 What? What? Hey, let go of that! Naruto screamed as he realized what Kakashi was holding. Outside the door to Naruto's room, Sakura, Haku and Sasuke were returning to see if Kakashi was done talking with Naruto yet. Haku was about to knock when he heard Naruto scream from inside. Ow! 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 What? What? Hey, let go of that! Haku blinked, as did the rest of Team 7, and they silently and unanimously decided not to go in. I just want to look at it. They heard Kakashi scream. Get your hands off that, quit pulling so hard. That thing is attached, you know. How did that get there? They heard Kakashi ask. How the hell do you think? It's soft and fuzzy. Let go, or so help me minus. You've kept it hidden all this time. Wow, I'm impressed. Sakura and Sasuke backed away from the door. I think they're still busy, Haku said as he also began walking away. Team 7 then bolted down the hallway, hoping to never hear their sensei screaming things like that again. Next time, I'll knock, Sakura said as she ran. Haku looked confused, but, before he could ask why, Sakura answered. You turn everything you touch into something no one cares to hear or have mental images of. Back inside the room, Kakashi was still pulling at Naruto's tail and ear. Let go already! Naruto yelled, pulling out his ear from Kakashi's grasp. You still didn't tell me how you got these, Kakashi said, turning to rubbing Naruto's tail to his cheek, giggling slightly. It's a side effect of using and merging with the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto said quietly into Kakashi's ear. I've been using chakra to hide them, but when you released the seal, I guess the sudden burst caused me to lose control of the jutsu. He sighed to himself. I've gotta get Tsunade to teach me how to store chakra in a permanent disguise. Course, I don't want a diamond on my forehead. Kakashi giggled as he rubbed Naruto's tail again. You know, usually in my books, it's the woman who put on the animal accessories for the men and minus. Don't even. Naruto warned, trying to grab his tail back. AW, you almost look like a little fox now, Kakashi said, teasing the blonde. At that moment a slight shuffling noise sounded outside the door, though the two inside paid it no mind. Naruto smirked. Yeah, and I bite like one too, he said as he clamped down on Kakashi's hand, causing the jounin to yelp in pain. Naruto, now free of Kakashi's hands grabbing at his ears and tail, quickly replaced the jutsu, making them disappear, all the while still biting onto Kakashi's hand. Now you let go of me, Kakashi screamed as he shook his arm. No way, this is payback, Naruto managed to say without letting go. Oh come on. I didn't use my teeth at least. So, I'm still causing you pain, and that makes it payback. Well, I didn't squeeze that hard. Like hell you didn't. You could have made it pop. Let go, Naruto. And with that he flung his student to the opposite wall. Kakashi looked at his hand, which now had a few teeth marks in it and was covered in drool. Oh, by the way, Urka got you some new clothes. They're over there. I'm leaving now too. Kakashi paused a moment, unable to think up an excuse. I'm just leaving. We'll talk more about this later. Kakashi eyed his student, making sure Naruto knew what he wanted to talk about later. Kakashi went over to the door, wiping his hand on his pants. When he opened it, he saw the rest of his team there, all wide-eyed. Kakashi cleared his throat. Sakura, Sasuke, and Haku had returned in hopes that they were done with whatever it was they were doing, only to be poised to knock once again for the screaming to start. Sakura was the one at the door, fist ready to knock. Kakashi suddenly realized what they had been screaming, and what it must have sounded like behind the door. His sweat dropped. As Kakashi took a few steps forward, it snapped the three out of their wide-eyed trance. Just as Kakashi was about to speak, Sakura screamed and took off, yelling at the top of her lungs. "I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Haku gave me the dirty curse." Sasuke and Haku sweat dropped, but ran after her, not wanting to talk to the Jounin. Kakashi walked away to find the Hokage, a little shaken, only now understanding just what it must have sounded like he was doing with his student. He quickly pulled out his little orange book and walked away. Hinata, on the other hand, was walking towards Naruto's room, having heard he was up. She almost ran into Sakura, who was screaming about being cursed, but at the last minute sidestepped to the wall. Once Hinata reached the door, she blushed and twiddled her fingers before opening the door. She didn't really know whether or not she wanted to know what Sakura was yelling about. Naruto heard the door open, and turned his head around to see Hinata staring at him. Naruto and Hinata both screamed, and Naruto grabbed for the pillow to cover his rear. Hinata promptly fainted. Naruto ran into the back room, and quickly got changed. Once he had pants on. At least. He came back, and put Hinata on his bed. He then hurriedly put his shirt on with a little trouble due to the cast on his right arm. Naruto took a quick look to Hinata, wondering if he should wake her up, but decided against it for both their sakes. He instead decided to wait and see what happens. As he looked over the love of his life, he notices something. Around her neck was a pearl and shell necklace. Naruto smiled, remembering it as being the necklace he had given her before the trip to Wave. Probably hasn't taken it off since. He thought. Naruto ran a hand through her hair and moved it down her cheek. He stayed like that for a few minutes with her head in his hand, reminiscing about the woman she'd turn out to be. Naruto slowly leaned in and was about to kiss her on the forehead when Hinata woke up. She blushed, screamed loudly, and hit him. Before fainting again. Naruto blinked and took off out of the hospital room to let the nurse know that Hinata was in there, a blush on his own face. Poor Hinata would probably never be the same. After seeing Naruto's naked ass, that is. Chapter 19. As Naruto ran from the hospital room in a frantic panic state, he ran into his teammates who stood in front of him to stop his mad dash towards his general frontwards direction. Unfortunately, Naruto couldn't stop too easily with all of his momentum behind him from running at a high speed. Naruto instantly began to slide when he stopped his feet from moving. Sakura watched the display somewhat amused until she realized that the blonde wasn't going to stop his slide, and quickly wound up for a punch. As Naruto slowed, he saw Sakura winding up and brought up his arm to block. This resulted in Sakura punching Naruto right on his plaster cast. He couldn't help but laugh as Sakura shook her red and throbbing hand. "Oh, and I was hoping you could get this thing off of me too," Naruto said, attempting to rub the back of his head with his casted arm. He quickly switched arms as he looked over the cast. He sighed as he knocked on the plaster. It was up past his elbow, and about 4 inches from his shoulder. "Want to try again?" Naruto asked, holding up the cast for Sakura. "You idiot!" she screamed as she pounded his head down. Haku looked concerned, but just shook his head, knowing full well that it would be pointless to try to intervene. "Hey! Not so hard. I did just come out of a coma, you know. Or at least, so I've been told," Naruto said, blocking another punch with his cast. Sakura once again shook her hand. "Hey, this thing's better than a steel guard," Naruto commented, looking at the plaster. "Huh, let's see if I can go for 3. Naruto thought to the fox as he mentally smirked. If she hits that plaster once more, she'll need a cast of her own. Go for it. Kyubi cheered on. "Wouldn't it be so cool if you could cover your whole body in this stuff? You'd be invincible," Naruto said, doing his best to wave his arms around. Sasuke shook his head, fully knowing the outcome as Haku's sweat dropped. "You idiot. If you were covered from head to toe in that stuff, you wouldn't be able to move," Sakura screamed, voicing Sasuke's thoughts and getting herself angrier. She prepared another punch and once again hit the hard cast. 3 strikes, you're out," Naruto called with a smirk. Why you minus? Sakura started to push up her sleeves when a call from behind her made her redirect her anger. Hey billboard brow. Ino pig. Sakura screamed, but was quickly silenced as Ino held up her hand. We heard you and your team got pretty badly hurt, and from the dead last there I guess we heard right. Ino said, watching Sasuke out of the corner of her eye. Naruto, how much damage did you do to yourself? Shikamaru asked as he came over to stand next to the blonde. Naruto shrugged, earning a troublesome from the brown-haired genius. So, you going to be able to compete Sasuke-kun? Ino asked, swinging her arm around Sasuke. Hey, get off of him. Sakura demanded loudly, locking eyes with Ino as sparks flew between them. Women are so troublesome. Shikamaru yawned while Choji nodded and opened a new bag of chips. Sasuke ducked away from the two women, who were now screaming at the tops of their lungs. The insults flew, and the boys fled from the two. You know, I've been doing more running since I got here than I did the whole time I was in that forest. Sasuke screamed as the five reached the balcony overlooking a large arena-like setup. Naruto sighed and sat down looking at a clock to see the time. Only 2 more hours left, Naruto said, crossing his legs and leaning against a wall. Shikamaru sat next to him before leaning all the way back and laying down to look at the ceiling. So, Naruto started, looking around. Anyone up for a game of cards? As more and more people began gathering in the arena below, Sasuke, Naruto, Haku, Shikamaru and Choji sat atop the balcony playing Crazy Eights. Shikamaru had fallen asleep with his face covered by his cards, which shifted with each breath he took and threatened to be inhaled. Sasuke sat looking pissed at the cards he held before placing a 3 of diamonds down to the pile. Choji had given up and had left in search of more chips. Haku looked at each player as if sizing them up. Naruto yawned before placing down a 6 of diamonds and saying last card. Haku placed his card down and looked to Sasuke. After a moment of thinking, he placed an 8 and called out clubs, however Naruto was ready for this as he placed his last card down to the pile. An 8 of spades. Son of A. Sasuke swore silently to himself while Haku nodded. Naruto motioned down to the crowd, and they all decided they should probably go too. I still can't believe you kept a deck of cards in your kunai pouch, Haku said, shaking his head in bewilderment. Well, you never know when it might come in handy. Naruto shrugged as he collected his cards, kicking Shikamaru awake as he did. I still can't believe you beat me that time. Sasuke said, sighing. I will win against you next time. We will have a rematch. Sasuke half said, half yelled as he stomped off down the stairs. Naruto watched his back and helped Shikamaru up. The three then proceeded to jump down to the arena floor, effectively beating Sasuke down the stairs. This of course, only made the genin few more. As the last few stragglers came and stood in their lines, the Hokage cleared his throat, signaling everyone to be quiet. As you well know, the first part of the Shoyunin exams are now over. He took a small puff on his pipe and sighed out the smoke. However, there are still quite a number of you left, so we have to have a few preliminary matches. We have not needed to do so in 5 years. The Hokage said, taking another puff on his pipe. So if everyone could be so kind as to go up to the balcony, we will begin to randomly match you up for a preliminary fight. The Hokage then stepped back, his speech done. While the next examiner explained the rules, Naruto was off in his own little world trying to think about how to beat Kiba, but make it look like an accident, or that it was a really hard match for him. Naruto went over a few scenarios in his head and finally settled on one, smirking to himself maniacally. Once the explanations were over, Naruto went up the stairs grinning once again as he watched the names flash up on the board. He saw Shikamaru come up beside him, mumbling about how troublesome it was to go up and down the stairs. Naruto just sat down, hung his legs through the bars as he looked around the arena. He spotted Tsunade down at the bottom talking with some medical nin. When she spotted him looking to her, he waved and gave him a thumbs up. Naruto yawned as he watched Sasuke's match unfold in front of him. He was not really paying attention, already knowing full out who will win. He was just about to close his eyes when Kakashi placed a hand on his shoulder. Ah, Naruto, Just the person I was looking for, Kakashi said happily. Naruto turned to look to him as the Jounin took a seat beside Naruto. So, I talked to the Hokage about continuing to compete despite your injuries, Kakashi said, locking eyes with the genin. Naruto immediately caught on to what Kakashi was doing and saying, hiding the true meaning of the conversation from listening ears. Oh, that's good. He didn't mind, did he? Kakashi seemed to smile, enjoying himself. Oh no, he didn't mind one bit, Kakashi said. Naruto nodded. That's good. He sighed in relief. However, Kakashi said, locking eyes with his student, it seemed I didn't need to say much to convince him. Kakashi's eye softened. Huh? Really? Naruto questioned. Kakashi nodded. It seemed as Tsunade looked you over before you woke up and said you should be fine to compete, Kakashi said, turning his eye into a U. Naruto blinked. Really? When did she do that? Near the beginning, when you entered the hospital. After you were all fixed up, I mean. Kakashi then gave Naruto a look that told him he was sorry for doubting his story and that he wanted to talk more about this later. Naruto nodded, thanking Kakashi as he stood to leave. Naruto sat there watching the back of his sensei a bit before he closed his eyes and leaned forward into the bars of the arena as the first match had ended. Shikamaru, who was sitting not too far away, had listened intently to the conversation, trying to figure out why Kakashi had to ask the Hokage whether Naruto would be allowed to compete. Granted, he had heard that the blonde had suffered some rather large injuries, but still, if he wanted to compete, he would compete. Even if the Hokage had said no, he still would have fought, knowing him. So why would he even ask? Shikamaru thought, looking at Naruto. What a drag. He sighed, knowing now he'll have to watch Naruto more closely. So, Tsunade had told the Hokage at the beginning of the exams. Naruto thought to the fox. So it seems. Well, at least she saved Kakashi an awkward conversation, the fox said, trying to be helpful. Besides, it was only a matter of time before the old man found out anyway with that damn crystal ball of spying. Naruto smirked at the fox's comment, an action which didn't escape Shikamaru's gaze. This of course caused the brunette to wonder what he was thinking about, and why he wasn't watching the matches below them. True. Oh well. At least the matchups are still the same. Wait. Naruto's eyes snapped open as he began to gaze around the crowd until he spotted the man he was looking for. Kabuto? Last time he quit the Shoyunin exams, but this time he didn't. What is he up to? Naruto thought angrily, glaring daggers to the silver-haired man. Naruto locked his gaze onto Tsunade next, waiting until she returned it. Once she did, Naruto motioned to his right to where Kabuto was watching the matches. Tsunade glanced at him, returned her gaze to Naruto, and nodded in understanding. Keep an eye on him, Naruto thought as he watched Tsunade a moment longer before once again closing his eyes in thought. Perhaps because Orochimaru is dead, he hasn't received his orders to withdraw, and so he's playing out the Shoyunin exams, the fox said thoughtfully. Even so, it still has me worried. Knowing Kabuto, he might have heard already about Orochimaru's death and wants to pick up where he left off. Naruto thought back to the fox. Or he's sizing up his competition, trying to figure out which one of the genin here could have been the one who killed him. Maybe, but if that's the case, then I need to be extra careful. On top of that, if memory serves, he might suspect Gaara. The way he fights, it would make sense. Well, to him anyway. Naruto sighed out a few curse words, unable to think of too many reasons. I just hope he doesn't fight anyone who can't handle him, Naruto thought. He opened his eyes just in time to see Sakura and Ino knock each other out, ending the match in a tie. That's the same at least. The screen above them revealed the next two fighters. Tenten and Temurai were up. Naruto sighed, watching as Shikamaru turned towards him. Okay, he's getting suspicious. Better perk up. Begin operation, throw Shikamaru off the trail, the fox said, almost making Naruto giggle. When will it be my turn? Ah, come on, I want to fight next, Naruto screamed, punching his fist in the air. I don't understand why you're so eager. I'm quite content to stay here. Shikamaru yawned and said, I'd be happy to go last, really. Ah, I'm sure you'll do great. But I want to fight now. Naruto whined, mimicking a mini temper tantrum. Tsunade laughed at the sight as she looked over to the blonde, though no one noticed her little giggle fit. Shikamaru rolled his eyes and looked back towards the match. Man, I'm glad I don't have to fight her, he said, suppressing a shudder. Naruto inwardly smirked. Well, now that you said it, you probably will, Naruto said, earning a sigh from Shikamaru. Don't jinx me, he said, shaking his head. A few moments later, and the match was over, Temurai coming out as the victor. Naruto looked up to the monitor, bouncing slightly. I hope it's my turn. I hope it's my turn. I hope it's my turn. Minus, Naruto said, quickly crossing his fingers, knowing full well it was his turn. I hope it's my turn. I ho ow. Naruto screamed, rubbing the new bump on his head where Sakura hit him meanie. He accused, only to get glared at. Quit acting like an idiot, Sakura screamed at him. That's physically impossible, considering an idiot can only act like an idiot, Sasuke said, coming over from the opposite side of Naruto. Naruto quickly looked between Sasuke on his left and Sakura on the right. He then looked at the screen, which had his name displayed along with Kiba's. I'd love to stay and be insulted, but it's my time to shine. And with that, Naruto jumped over the railing into the arena, faintly hearing Kiba saying, we got lucky. This will be easier than I thought. Oh, how wrong you are. Naruto laughed manically, in his head of course, as Kiba joined him down in the arena. So Naruto, you ready to lose? Kiba said, smugly putting his dog down. Meh, I think you're overly cocky. Naruto smirked and pointed a finger at Kiba. You're going to lose. Oh, am I now? And how's your arm there? Is that your new secret weapon? Broken arm no jutsu? Kiba asked, snorting. I said begin. The examiner coughed out. Hey, we're building a verbal climax, Naruto said, turning to the hacking man. Naruto turned back to see Kiba running at him, Akamaru sitting and watching the fight. Aren't you going to use your little dog pal? Naruto asked, dodging a punch thrown at his head. I won't need his help to beat a weakling like you, Kiba roared out as he threw another punch, which Naruto dodged again, letting Kiba's fist barely miss him, making his moves look sloppy. As Kiba threw punches left and right, Naruto dodged, letting Kiba tire himself out. Kiba caught on quickly though, knowing full well that if it was a match of stamina, Naruto could easily win. Growling, Kiba jumped back, panting slightly and glaring at the smirk he was given in return. Gah, fine. Akamaru, Kiba yelled, and immediately the little dog sprang into action. Akamaru quickly charged at Naruto to try to hold him down. As the little dog jumped up, Naruto blocked with his arm, only to have the dog clamp down on Naruto's cast. Is that it? Naruto asked, poking at the dog hanging from his cast. It was gripping tightly. He swayed as Naruto poked him. Everyone watching the match sweat dropped at the sight. Akamaru was barely even a hindrance to Naruto, as he moved his arm back and forth with Akamaru clinging to the cast. The dog was too light to really hold him down, and biting the cast caused no damage. Akamaru, Kiba yelled as he watched his dog sway on the cast. I think his teeth got stuck in the plaster, Naruto said, trying to pry the dog off his arm to no avail. Everyone's sweat dropped again. Akamaru whimpered slightly as Naruto pulled the dog off the plaster. Akamaru opened his jaws as wide as he could and was flung towards Kiba, who caught him. Naruto inspected the teeth marks that were now in his cast. Well, that was unexpected, he said, looking at Kiba. Fine. Time to get serious. Kiba brought out his little pills and fed one to the dog, and ate one himself. As Akamaru's fur began to change to a rusty color, Kiba crouched down on all fours and the puppy leapt onto his master's back. Man-beast clone, Kiba screamed as he and Akamaru transformed. Naruto reached into his kunai pouch, and instantly found what he was looking for. He held up the little orange ball somewhat fondly and smirked. Oh, Kiba-kun. Naruto started in an overly sweet voice. Kiba and Akamaru watched as Naruto tossed up his little orange ball and caught it. He played with the ball a little more before holding it in his left hand. Winding up, he let it fly. Fetch. he said as the little orange ball exploded in a cloud of smoke. Instantly, everyone who was above Kiba began choking and gagging. Sakura held her hand over her mouth and nose as she called out, "Ag. That reeks. Naruto, what the hell did you just do?" She gagged again. Sasuke had pulled his face almost completely into his collar while Shikamaru brought out a cloth and tied it around his face. Kakashi smirked. "It's times like this, I'm glad I wear more than one mask," he said happily, not showing any sign that he was bothered by the unholy smell. "Taste that Kiba. Stink bomb." Naruto yelled through bits of laughter. "That's an effective weapon to use against Kiba," Kirena said, coming up beside Kakashi, also having a cloth around her face. "With Kiba's extra strong sense of smell, this is about 100 times worse for him," she said, making Shikamaru look more inquisitively at the arena. "Okay. My eyes, they burn." Naruto finally went on the offensive to the wreathing and twitching Kiba. He punched him in the gut with an uppercut, causing Kiba to intake air after having it knocked out of him. A punch to the head made the dog boy go flying into the nearby wall. Small bits of rubble crashed down, and Naruto smirked. A small whooshing noise was made as Naruto kicked Kiba in the stomach, putting more pressure on the wall. Although he was only using his left arm to attack and his movements were slow, his attack still sent Kiba for a loop. Tsunade, watching from afar, smirked, knowing full well what the blonde was trying to do. As Naruto kept pummeling Kiba into the wall, Akamaru was recovering as the smell dissipated. As soon as his head was clear, Akamaru attacked. Kiba smirked as the dog clone grabbed onto Naruto's leg, making him stop attacking Kiba and focus on Akamaru. "Don't forget there are two of us fighting," Kiba said as he stood up straight, coming to attack. Naruto stood there watching Kiba smirking. The smirk of course made Kiba stop in his tracks, knowing that if Naruto was smiling he was up to something. "Oh, what's the matter, Kiba? Scared?" Naruto taunted, making Akamaru growl and bite onto Naruto's leg. "Why would I be scared of you? Back in the academy, you could barely pass." Kiba snarled. "Well, for one, I haven't unleashed my most powerful weapon," Naruto said, bringing his hands together and awkwardly fumbling until he made a cross seal. A number of poofs were heard as multiple Narutos appeared, giving cause for Kiba to look around somewhat nervously. "You think a bunch of bunching are going to scare me? You've got another thing coming." Kiba prepared to attack again. Naruto just smirked wider, exposing teeth, making his grin look all the more malicious. "Who said anything about scaring you? And besides, you can't exactly tell." The Naruto being held by Akamaru stopped talking, and another in the crowd finished the sentence, "Which one of us is real?" Chapter 20. Kiba stopped in his tracks. He looked around to all the smirking Narutos and tried to sniff the air. All he ended up smelling was the lingering scent of the stink bomb. He looked back to the Naruto that was being held down by Akamaru and growled. "Well, there's only one way to find out." Kiba began charging again as the Naruto just stood there smiling. Just before Kiba collided with Naruto, a pop was heard and it poofed out of existence. Akamaru fell forward, no longer having Naruto's leg to hold onto, and Kiba tripped over him. "Damn," he mumbled as he got up and looked at the surrounding Narutos. "How?" Akamaru was holding onto it. Kiba said to the Naruto army. "Simple. These aren't normal clones." One said. "They're shadow clones." Another continued. "And they're solid," said one directly in front of Kiba, "which means we can do this." They all shouted in unison. As the Narutos charged, Kiba called Akamaru and began to store up chakra. "Getsuga!" Kiba screamed as he and Akamaru attacked together, eliminating all but one Naruto who went flying. "Found you. Getsuga!" Kiba attacked the lone Naruto as he was falling, throwing him into a wall. Upon impact, Naruto poofed and was gone. Another clone. "Damn. Where is he?" Kiba looked around for a bit before he turned around to see the Naruto army was back. The Narutos quickly surrounded Kiba and Akamaru. Kiba looked around and Akamaru crouched in preparation. Just as Kiba was about to attack again, all the Narutos fumbled until they made a hand sign. One that Uruka knew all too well. Orochi no Jutsu. They all called, and they transformed in a burst of smoke. A few seconds after the smoke cleared, Kiba stared, as did almost every other male in the room. Akamaru looked confused while Kiba made a perverted face as his whole body twitched. Instead of being surrounded by male Narutos, he was now surrounded by women, all of whom had smoke just barely covering the, womanly areas. Kiba-kun, won't you please give up? One of the Narutos said, batting her his eyelashes. Kiba-kun. Another one called. Kiba. Another one went close and placed a hand on the side of his face. Naruto. What the hell is that? Everyone turned to the person who yelled, expecting an enraged Sakura. When they saw Hinata, everyone went wide-eyed. Hinata, realizing all eyes were on her, quickly retracted into her shell and blushed a bright red. More so out of a new image that popped into her head than out of embarrassment of what she had just done. Sakura just looked at the shy girl and pouted slightly, wanting to be the one who yelled at the blonde. Kakashi, after adjusting his voice box, making sure it wouldn't fail him, then spoke. You know, if you think about it, that's an effective way of pinpointing Kiba to make sure he attacks him instead of Akamaru. After all, I'm pretty sure Akamaru isn't the one getting a slight nosebleed down there. Shikamaru looked up to the silver-haired Jounin, analyzing what he had said before looking back down to the match. Sakura had been inching away from Kakashi and slowly towards Sasuke, who was watching the match with interest. Kakashi smiled behind his mask as he looked down to Naruto. He's really hamming this up, he thought to himself, watching Anko out of the corner of his eye. Kiba blinked a few times before going back to focus on the female Narutos, who were swarming Kiba, trying to get as close as possible. Akamaru had tried attacking a few, but ended up barely making a dent in the clones. Because the Narutos were so close, he was finding it hard to make any moves. Kiba had started using kunai to fend off the Narutos, however one thing made him stop dead in his tracks. There was a Naruto clinging to his neck. Kiba Q1. And as Kiba turned his head, everyone's sweat dropped, or face vaulted. Akamaru stopped clawing his way through the clones to turn eyes wide. Hinata's eye was twitching violently as everyone inched away from her. Sakura didn't know what to make of what she saw down below her while Kakashi tried to hide a laugh. Shikamaru blinked before shaking his head quickly, trying to clear the image. Tsunade giggled. After trying to hold it, she gave up and burst into a full-blown laughing fit. Sasuke shuddered, and a slight blush of embarrassment met his cheeks. Haku, on the other hand, began to giggle as the sight before him brought back to a very entertaining memory. Kiba screamed. The Naruto blushed and giggled. Oh Kiba-kun. I knew you loved me. The Naruto said in a flirty and happy way, although its eye twitched. What the hell is wrong with you? Kiba screamed, spitting in between words. Kissing your opponent is not a valid way to attack an enemy. And with that, he threw a shuriken at the giggling female Naruto. Poof. Oh, thank God. Kiba sighed in relief. He hadn't actually kissed Naruto after all. As Haku's fits of laughter became louder and louder, he was joined by Kakashi and Tsunade. Soon, almost every person in the room was laughing. Sasuke twitched and looked away from the scene below him, the blush of embarrassment creeping onto his cheeks even though he tried to keep it at bay. Kakashi slowed his laughter enough to breathe well. They don't call him the most surprising ninja for nothing. And with that, he began laughing anew. That's one way to catch your opponent off guard. Shikamaru managed to laugh out, having given up on holding back his giggles at the look on Kiba's face. Troublesome idiot. He snickered further. Kiba looked around, utterly embarrassed, and as he was distracted, he was attacked from behind. He was sent flying into Akamaru, who poofed back into his little dog form. As the pair hit the ground, the Narutos went back to normal, leaving a cloud of smoke blocking everything from view. Kiba was attacked, and Akamaru was held down. No one really saw what happened, but everyone heard it. There were the sounds of punches being thrown, and a few explosions. When the smoke cleared, Naruto stood with a foot on Kiba and a clone holding his puppy. Naruto smirked and puffed out his chest, panting as best he could, trying to fake being tired. Kiba laid face down, looking completely dazed but otherwise okay. Although, when he tried to get up, Naruto held him firmly down. Well, Who's top dog now? Naruto smirked. Time to take this puppy to the vet, the clone said, holding Akamaru up for unnecessary emphasis. Akamaru just growled at the Narutos. The clone hissed through his teeth, effectively shutting the dog up. Kiba tried to move again, but once again fell down, unconscious from exhaustion. You won, Naruto. You can let him up now, he heard a voice say, and turned to look at the examiner and nodded. The clone put the dog down and poofed away. Naruto then began to make his way up the stairs with his hands behind his head. Well, at least he lost with a little more dignity this time, Naruto thought, smirking at the memory of Kiba's embarrassing loss last time. Although he did end up kissing one of my clones. Guess he was always meant to lose some dignity in this match. Naruto had to hold back a laugh. You really pounded him. Kyubi smirked. Put the old dog to sleep. Not again. But you got to make lame puns. Why can't I? Kyubi argued, somewhat dejected. Because I'm the only one who can hear yours. Have I got you barking mad? Stop now. No fun. As Naruto reached where his team plus Shikamaru was, he was greeted with multiple hits to the head. You idiot. Sakura pounded his head in. What the heck is wrong with you? She hit him again. Ow. What was that for? Kakashi asked, rubbing the new bump on his head. For corrupting your student, and teaching him your perverted ways, Anko said as she hit Kakashi again. As the two assaulted men began to run, the women huffed and fumed. Shikamaru inched his way away from them. Geez, I hope I don't have to fight a woman. Shikamaru began to watch the screen again. His name came up and he looked down to the arena, his very female opponent already there waiting for him. Damn. Naruto came to a stop beside Hinata, who turned bright red as soon as she saw him. Naruto turned bright red alongside her, realizing what she was probably blushing about. So. Hi. Naruto started cheerily. Hinata twiddled her fingers and refused to meet his gaze. Bad thoughts, bad thoughts, bad thoughts. Hinata turned a deeper shade of red as she looked up at Naruto. And maybe when this is all over, we could go to somewhere, Hinata said, awkwardly shifting her gaze back to the floor. Sure, Naruto said happily. But what's the matter? You're acting all fidgety, Naruto said, bending his head so instead of the floor Hinata saw him. Hinata yeeped and backed up a bit before looking at Naruto again, her gaze shifting steadily downward. Hinata. Naruto screamed, instantly realizing what she was doing. He blushed and backed up, bumping into Kakashi. The older Jounin looked down as the blonde looked up, blush still on his face. Kakashi smiled off. Naruto, so this is the girl that you minus. He never got to finish because Naruto jumped at his sensei, knocking him backwards. Fortunately, there was a nice flight of stairs to break their fall. Hinata watched the two go tumbling down and blinked before looking up at the screen and realized it was her turn. So, Kakashi started smirking once they had reached the bottom of the stairs. He was laying on top of Naruto, who was trying to kick and punch his way out from underneath him, despite Kakashi having him pinned. Am I right? Kakashi continued, looking down to the blonde's face, not bothering to move. Not the time or place, Kakashi, Naruto said again, attempting to push the heavy Jounin off him. Oh, but it is because I've got you in a position where I can squeeze anything I want out of you. Katsuhi's eye turned into a U. Naruto looked disgusted. Again, wrong thing to say, considering the position we're in. Well, best answer then, no. Kakashi was clearly enjoying himself. Fine. Yes. Now get off, Naruto screamed. As Kakashi shifted his weight, Naruto shoved the Jounin off him, sending Kakashi sliding a bit. See? Now was that so hard? Kakashi asked rhetorically, standing and patting the blonde on the head as he sat up. Naruto just stared at the Jounin, trying to figure out if he was trying to make a pun or not. Naruto just shook his head and ran up the stairs to see Hinata's match had begun, and was about 1/3 through. He screamed encouragement, but Neji still ended up overpowering her. Although to her credit Hinata had left a few more injuries and got away with a few less major injuries than last time. You are nothing but a failure and a loser, and you will never be anything more, Neji declared as he was about to finish her off. Naruto jumped down and took the hit. Grunting, he fell to his knees as Hinata fainted. His left arm fell uselessly to his side, glad it was only his arm and not his or Hinata's heart. He stood up to face Neji. Why were you going to kill her? Naruto demanded harshly. Because her fate is to die, so I'm just helping along the process, Neji replied simply before he turned to leave. I'll wipe that smirk off your face, you bastard, Naruto said to Neji as Hinata was carried away. Naruto went back up to the balcony, giving off a slight killer intent. Stupid, arrogant Neji. I gotta turn him into good, not so bastard. Why Neji? As Naruto took his seat beside a slightly bruised Shikamaru, he continued to fume. Across the balcony, Gaara picked up on the slight killer intent that the blonde was giving and smiled maliciously. His sister and brother took one look at the smiling Gaara and knew instantly they had better be somewhere else. Gaara only gets that look when he's about to kill Name or is just thinking about blood, Kankuro thought as he moved away from the redhead along with his sister. Naruto stopped his rant when he felt killer intent being directed at him and realized he was leaking his own. Even though it was too subtle to be picked up by even the most experienced jounin, Gaara felt it. As they locked eyes, Naruto realized with a pang of sympathy what the genin had gone through and wished he could help him without beating him to a pulp. Unfortunately, Naruto knew the only way to get anything through to him would be to beat it into him. As their gazes broke, Shikamaru stayed locked to Naruto, having seen him glaring at the sand nin across the balcony. Naruto looked over to Shikamaru and sighed. As much as you stare, you're not going to get anywhere, Naruto said quietly, locking eyes with the brown-haired nin. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed as Naruto looked away. So he knows I'm studying him, eh? Troublesome. But what he said just now, he knows I'm trying to figure him out, and what he just said proves he's got something he's hiding. That line should give him something to think about. He'll probably stalk me along with Sasuke when this exam is all over now. Naruto smirked at the thought of his ever-growing fan club as he looked up at the screen. He paled slightly and instantly gulped. Haku versus Kabuto. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe, and also check out the playlist.